Officer Moran, would you please just tell the jury your name and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Eric Moran. It's M-O-R-A-N.
And Officer Moran, how long have you been with the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department?
15 years.
Okay. And where are you assigned within that department?
Traffic Safety Division.
And how long have you been in traffic safety?
Approximately 13 years.
Okay. And what is the Traffic Safety Division?
It's a unit comprised of patrol, traffic enforcement officers, motorcycle officers, the mounted patrol, commercial motor vehicle enforcement, and the accident reconstruction unit.
Okay. And what is the accident reconstruction unit?
It's a division within traffic safety. We investigate crashes that were requested to that involve critical unstable patients or death imminent.
Within that unit?
There's a group of us, I believe about 8 of us, that are accident reconstruction investigators.
Okay. Have you received training in connection with that work for performing accident reconstructions?
Yes.
Could you tell the jury about that training?
I've attended basic, advanced, and accident reconstruction school. I attended motorcycle accident reconstruction school, commercial motor vehicle, basic and advanced. I've gone through tire investigations, CDR technician school.
What is CDR technician school?
It's crash data retrieval. It's what we call the black box or airbag control module that's within all current vehicles and some older vehicles.
And what do they teach you in CDR school?
The airbag control module from a vehicle.
Do they provide any training with regard to verifying the integrity or the accuracy of data retrieved from CDRs or ACM?
Through the technician school, no. There's another class which I have not gone through in that regards.
Okay. And then there's another person in this case. Are you familiar with Tom Morris?
Yes.
And who's Tom Morris?
He's a civilian accident reconstruction investigator that works with our department.
Okay. And when does Tom Morris, I guess, what sort of cases does Tom Morris become involved in?
Tom assists us on a majority of, it's a case-by-case basis. In this case, he was requested by our supervisor to assist.
Okay. And specifically, with respect to what we were just talking about, verifying the integrity or accuracy of CDR data, did Tom Morris perform that function in this case?
He did. He did the calculations on that.
Okay. How many collision scenes would you say that you have responded to within your time at Traffic Safety Unit?
Well, probably over 100.
Okay. And these would, as you described, they would all be cases involving fatalities or critical injuries?
That's correct.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time the state would tender Officer Morris as an expert in the field of accident reconstruction.
I'll stipulate Officer Moran and Morris.
I mean, Officer Moran.
Yes. Officer Morris would be treated like an expert.
Moran.
Officer Moran will be treated like an expert.
We'll get to Morris later. Okay, Officer Moran, were you called to respond to a scene on February 18th, 2023, or early morning hours of February 19th, 2023?
I was.
Okay. When you were advised of that incident, what was your understanding of the reason that you were going to respond to that scene?
I was requested for a person struck.
Okay. And where was that scene located?
The scene was located at 11th and St. Charles.
What were you, where were you when you received that call?
I was either en route home or just made it home.
And that's, in my experience, it sounds like that's pretty common with accident reconstruction. You're on call for a lot of serious cases, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So when you receive that call, what do you do next?
Respond back to the office, in this case to gather equipment and then respond to the scene.
What equipment did you gather?
We used to gather the Leica P40 scanner.
And what is a Leica P40 scanner?
It's a 3D imaging instrument that takes 3D scans of a scene.
Is there any other equipment that you use in a crash reconstruction or bring with you?
It's usually a case-by-case basis, but in this situation, we brought the Leica P40.
Okay. In this case, ETU also responded to the scene, is that right?
That's correct.
I think it was Officer Walworth was taking photographs of the scene, is that right?
Yes.
I guess, are you ever called upon to photograph a scene?
Not usually, unless we go back to a scene a couple of days later or want to notate something that might not have been captured.
Okay. Have you reviewed the photographs that Officer Walworth took at the scene of this incident?
Yes.
Judge, we're going to sit down all 126 photos.
All right, all 126 will be done and made public.
So, Your Honor, that's State's Exhibit 40 through State's Exhibit 165. Okay. Officer Moran, can you walk the jury through what you do when you respond to a scene? What you did specifically in this case when you responded?
So my primary job when responding to a scene is to get a layout of the crash scene and document it using a Leica P40 scanner.
Okay, and why do you do that?
So we can gather all the evidence that's on the scene at the time without having to get it disturbed in some form or fashion.
Okay. Can you describe the scene for the jury as it appeared when you arrived there?
So there was an Audi on its roof just west of 11th Street at St. Charles, on its roof facing eastbound. There was also a Chevy Malibu at the intersection 11th and St. Charles with damage on it. There was no pedestrian when I arrived. The pedestrian was already gone.
Okay. Could you describe for the jury the sorts of evidence that you might look for on the roadway itself at a crash scene?
So I'm looking for gouge marks, tire marks, scrape marks, fluid trails, damage to other vehicles. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay. There was some testimony earlier today about skid marks. Could you describe, from your experience, what is a skid mark?
A skid mark is a tire mark that is left when a driver applies the brake.
And specifically, how's that skid mark, based on your training, how is that created?
That's left by the tire with the friction between the road and the tire.
If there's no skid mark at a scene, does that mean the car didn't brake before the impact?
That it does not mean that they did not brake before the collision.
Can you explain why?
you have to apply the brake hard enough to cause that friction on the roadway. Brake application, depending on the amount of pressure, depends on if you leave a tire mark.
Okay. And you mentioned a gouge mark. What is a gouge mark?
Gouge marks are when something digs into the pavement and digs it out.
And in general, in your experience, what is it that from the vehicle that digs into the pavement?
So where we see it most is in the area of impact when both vehicles collide. The forces cause them to go in a downward motion and dig into the pavement.
And would you say that's very common in head-on collisions?
Yes,
Because of the high degree of the forces involved.
that's correct.
And the forces don't have anywhere to go, so they go downward into the pavement.
Correct.
Okay. Did you see gouge marks at this scene?
We did not see any in the area of impact.
Okay. What, if any, roadway evidence did you see?
So I observed some scuff marks in the roadway. Saw a large amount of roadway debris, several scratch marks on St. Charles Street west of 11th, and then some body tissue.
Okay. Can you describe to the jury what a scuff mark is?
A scuff mark is a tire that is rotating, moving, still rotating, but moving, in this case, a sideways fashion.
Okay. I'm going to show you exhibit here. Okay. So for the record, I just published State's Exhibit 119. Officer Moran, I'm kind of highlighting an area of the photograph there in the bottom left. Do you see what I'm referring to?
Yes.
Okay, what is that depicted in that?
That's a tire scuff.
Okay. Would a demonstrative help you show the jury kind of how that mark is left on the pavement?
I can describe on the tire what would leave those marks.
Sure. So I'm going to hand you demonstrative 8, State Exhibit 12. And using that, could you please show the jury how that kind of mark is left on the pavement?
So when the vehicle in this case here is still moving forward but rotating, and what's leaving the mark is with the tire flexing this is what you're getting marks from. It's the tread. You would if you lined it up, you would see that those striations in that tire would be similar to the tread tire with it sliding sideways.
Okay. Thank you, Officer. Officer Moran, I'm publishing now what's marked as State Exhibit 147, and I'm kind of highlighting. So I'm going to start kind of moving backwards. Do you see the marking on the roadway that I'm highlighting there?
Yes.
Okay, and what is that? How do you describe that marking?
That's a scrape mark.
Okay, and would that be consistent with the metal part of the car scraping against the roadway?
Yes.
Okay. Then there's a gap and another marking on the roadway here. Do you see what I'm referring to on this?
Yes. Yes.
And what is that mark on the roadway?
That may be more a light gouge in the roadway.
Okay. And what sorts of parts of the vehicle would be consistent with leaving that mark on the roadway?
We're looking for a thicker metal piece that slammed into the roadway.
Okay. So while you were at the scene, you performed a Leica scan of the scene. While you were on the scene, were you able to come to an opinion as to a sequence of events based on vehicles at the scene and the damage and marks you observed?
So, not necessarily at the scene, but once all the evidence from witnesses we were able to kind of come up with an idea once we've gathered and had an idea of what happened.
Okay. So just to be clear for the jury, because this has just come up, the person who was injured was not present at the scene when you were there, right?
That's correct.
You didn't know who that was?
That's correct.
What information, if any, did you have about the injuries to that person?
Her father and her mother were there, and I was aware that she had severe leg injuries.
Okay. And all of the cases that you respond to involve fatalities or serious injuries, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So what was the next process in your investigation of this incident?
Moving forward in this case, my next job was the following day.
Okay. And what happened the following day?
I got a search warrant for both airbag control modules from the Audi and the Chevy.
Okay. And after you got the search warrant, what was the next step?
I went to St. Louis City Tow and removed the modules from the vehicle.
Okay. While I'm doing this, Officer Moran, is it customary practice within traffic safety to assign numbers to the vehicles involved in a collision?
It can be, yes.
Okay, and is there a convention to how the number of each vehicle involved is assigned?
Yes.
Okay, and so for example, what is vehicle number 1, what is vehicle number 2, and so on?
Vehicle 1 is always the striking vehicle, regardless of fault.
And what do you mean by the striking vehicle?
Whichever vehicle initiated the collision would be vehicle 1.
Okay, in this case, which vehicle was vehicle 1?
The Chevy Malibu.
Okay. Your Honor, I'm questioning the witness with what's marked as State Exhibit 167 and State Exhibit 168.
These are evidence bags containing airbag control modules.
Okay, can you review those and tell me if those are the same airbag control modules that you seized in this case?
From the packaging, I believe so.
Okay, and is your name on that envelope? Which airbag control module is that?
Vehicle 1,
And which airbag control module is 168?
Vehicle 2.
Okay. After you're at this end state, we move to the United States Exhibits 167, 168.
Just can I have just a moment to check the tech a minute? Dump check.
167 and 168 will be admitted.
Give me 1 second, Oscar. There were 3 doses. Officer Moran, once you had removed those from the vehicles at the tow lot, what did you do next?
I took them back to the office and downloaded the data.
Okay, describe that process for the jury.
All right, so Bosch is the only data collector system there is to download airbag control modules. It's software that's on one of our department computers. You go through a prompt to tell you what the make and the model of the vehicle is. It tells you either to use the Canon Plus or the CDR 900 and which cable to use. In this case, for the Chevy Malibu, Vehicle 1, I used the
black boxes. How do you analyze the data?
So it's actually, most of it's in plain English. It's, if there's an error, it will tell you. If it's not available, it'll tell you. If it says I hooked it up wrong, it won't retrieve any data. So we just look through it, make sure there's no error codes in that data.
Okay. You recall the make and model of the vehicle 2 in this case?
It was a 2023 Audi Q5.
Okay. And was there anything significant about that fact back in February 2023 with respect to this step of your investigation?
Yes.
Okay, and what specifically?
So Bosch comes out with updates, unfortunately a little late sometimes. In this case, the only Audi I could read for a Q5 was a 2022. We were working with a 2023, but due to the fact that it's a locked event, which means I can't overwrite it, we went ahead and downloaded it, and we retrieved a image or data from that vehicle.
Okay. And then we did it again this year, right?
I've done it additionally, yes.
And Mr. Deemer was present when that happened, is that right?
I wasn't present when it happened.
Mr. Deemer, okay. That occurred at the circuit.
Everybody thought the question was asked.
He was not there when we actually downloaded it.
It was shortly after Mr. Deemer left, is that right?
That's correct.
At that point, there was like a third time in between there that the data was reanalyzed with the update, is that right?
Yes.
Was there any difference for the data from the Audi from the first time, the second time, third time, or was it the same every time?
Today?
Thank you. So the question was, Officer Moran, was the data the same every time it was downloaded?
Yes.
Okay. Did that surprise you?
No.
Because you can't overwrite the data, right?
Correct.
Okay. So after the data was downloaded, what's the next? So is there software that's used to analyze the image data?
To interpret it, yes.
Okay. And what software is that?
That's through the Bosch software.
Okay. Is that commonly accepted in your field as a reliable tool to analyze data retrieved from an airbag control module?
Yes.
Okay. I'm handing you first what's marked as State Exhibit 29. Can you, and that's related to the most recent imaging date from February 13, 2024, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and which airbag control module does that report relate to?
Appears to be from the Audi.
Okay, and how can you tell that?
The beginning of the VIN number starts with a W.
Okay, and is that report a fair and accurate copy of the report generated by the Bosch software when it processed that data image from that Audi's ACM?
Yes.
Okay. Did the software indicate any errors while it was processing that data?
No.
Based on your training and experience, you mentioned the class for CR technicians. Did the tool function as intended in analyzing and generating that report?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, the state would move to admit Exhibit 29.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, 29 will be admitted.
And I'm sorry, I'm handing you State Exhibit 30. Can you tell the jury what that is?
It's the airbag control module from vehicle 1 or the Chevy Malibu.
Okay. Audi ACM, is that an accurate copy of the report generated when you analyzed the airbag control module from the Malibu?
Give me one moment. Sorry, I just want to check one thing. Yes.
Okay. And use the same tool and process?
Same Bosch, different instrument, but yes.
Different tables?
Yes.
Okay. Did the software appear to function based on your training as intended?
Yes.
Does it move to admit figure 30?
Any objection?
No objection.
Exhibit 30 be admitted.
Officer Moran, we're going to look at those in a moment, but before we do that, can you walk us through what sort of data we're going to see in that report that's generated?
So in these reports, you're going to see braking application, seatbelt use, speed, accelerator pedal, and then case-by-case basis. There's a few more things that may be available, but not something that we would necessarily use.
Okay. And in a this sort of report, is the term event or deployment event sometimes used?
Yes.
And, what does that term in that field, in your field, refer to?
So a deployment event is a event where the box has saved data. We can either have a locked event or a pre-deployment event.
Okay. And can there sometimes be multiple events recorded?
It can.
Is that actually reflected in data limitations on the report?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Is there a convention with respect to the numbering of events?
It's a case-by-case basis.
Depends on the model of the vehicle.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll start with the simpler one. Where I'm going to publish States Exhibit 30.
May.
Okay. Officer Moran, can you see that from where you're seated?
Yes.
Okay. At the top of the first page of that report, what is that number?
The number at the top of the report is the VIN number.
Just hoping that. Give me 1 second, I'll pull up the right page over here. Can you tell the jury how many events were recorded on the airbag control module for the Malibu?
One event.
you see what we're looking at here, Officer Moran?
Yes.
So, what is this data, pre-crash data, -5 to -0.5?
Okay, so when impact occurs, it's going to record 5 seconds of pre-crash data. So 5 seconds leading up to that collision, it's going to record it in the airbag control module. And again, it's case-by-case basis what it does record, but in this situation, this is what it would have recorded.
Okay, what is this table here? Accelerator pedal percentage, full accelerator pedal position. What does that mean?
So that's how the percentage that the accelerator is pressed down.
So, am I understanding right, in the 3 seconds preceding the event or the impact, the accelerator pedal is not being pushed down?
Correct.
And the next column, service brake, what does that mean?
It's also known as your brake pedal when the brake pedal is applied.
Okay. And there's just 2 values, off and on.
That's correct.
You're either braking or you're not braking.
Correct.
Okay, and I'm interpreting it correct that in the 2 seconds before impact, the brake is applied.
That's correct.
Okay. And I'm just going to jump to this last column. What is this last column? Speed, vehicle indicated, vehicle speed, mile per hour, kilometers per hour.
Correct. That's the left part of that column is miles per hour, and then you have the kilometers in the right side.
What road was the Malibu traveling on?
It was 11th Street,
Okay. What's the speed limit on 11th Street?
25 miles an hour.
Okay. Am I interpreting this right? That 5 seconds before impact, the Malibu's traveling 29 miles per hour?
Correct.
And what speed does the airbag control module indicate it was traveling at impact?
So a half second prior to impact,
Half second prior.
she was traveling 27 miles an hour.
All right. We talked about the possibility of there being more than one deployment event reported. Are you familiar with the convention used by Audi for its airbag control module in numbering the sequence of events?
Yes.
Okay, and how are they numbered?
The events start backwards in their numbering sequence. A first event would be labeled, in this case, event 3. The next would be event 2. And the last event would be event 1.
Okay. Your Honor, I'm going to publish State's Exhibit 29.
Okay, Officer.
This is the first page of the report for the data retrieved from the Audi's airbag control module.
Yes.
Okay. And does it indicate how many events were recorded?
Yes. At the bottom of the page, there are 3 events.
Okay. So, and it says actually here, record 1 is the most recent event, is that right?
That's correct.
So the first one, again, would be the 3rd record.
That's correct.
On this page, are we looking at a table containing the same sort of data as we saw before, but for the Audi's airbag control module?
That's correct.
Okay. And so this would be the first, in the sequence of time, the first event that happened. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And my understanding that at minus 5 seconds from impact, the Audi is traveling 5 miles per hour.
That's correct.
And this, in this case, there's data actually for the moment of impact. Is that right?
That's correct.
And that data indicates that Audi had accelerated from 5 miles per hour to 45 miles per hour in 5 seconds. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And we see at the moment of impact, the brake was not depressed. Is that right?
That's correct.
That the brake was depressed for half a second, 1.5 seconds prior to collision. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then the accelerator pedal was depressed 100%. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And before that, the accelerator pedal was also depressed 100% for 2.5 seconds. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. We can see at the moment of impact, the engine RPMs are over 6,000. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So once you have this data from the airbag control modules from the Malibu and the Audi, so I guess, was there anything else significant you found out from this data?
Not really.
Okay. The Audi's airbag control module also records a roll axis, g-forces if the car rotates. Is that right?
That's correct.
In the later events, there is a roll indicated. Is that right?
Yes.
But not at the time of this impact.
I don't believe so.
Okay. We can check. So we see longitudinal crash pulse. This is milliseconds for record 3, is that right?
Yes.
The roll axis is 0. There's no roll at prior to impact, is that right?
Correct.
And then after impact, you see in the first 100 milliseconds, there is a roll 10 degrees negative on that axis. Is that right?
Yes.
And then 10 degrees in the opposite direction on that axis.
Yes.
Okay. So after you recovered this data from the airbag control modules, what was the next step in your reconstruction of this collision?
So from there, I went to go ahead and in the following days to attempt to find some video surveillance.
Okay. And I want to step back for a moment. There's been references to body-worn camera. Did you review any body-worn camera in preparing your report?
I did.
Did you pick and choose which body-worn camera you reviewed?
No.
Unfortunately, which videos did you review?
I reviewed everybody that I could find that was on the scene.
Okay. And when you were on the scene, did you speak to any witnesses yourself?
I did.
Okay. Was that Christopher Eckert?
Yes.
Okay. What, did he provide a written statement to you?
Yes.
Okay. Did you tell him to doctor his statement?
No.
Why did you ask Christopher Eckert to give you a written statement?
Because he was an independent witness that we were able to locate that lived in the area, and I figured it would be best to get a written statement instead of just a verbal statement.
Okay. So, we're talking about video. What did you do to attempt to, or were you able to recover video relating to this?
Yes.
Okay. And what video specifically did you recover?
I was able to retrieve video from the loft at 11 and the loft that sits between 11th and 10th Street on St. Charles.
Okay. Why was that video significant?
It was significant to show where the Audi had come from originally.
Okay. And where did it come from?
It came from the shoulder just west of 10th Street, parked at the south shoulder.
Okay. Was there other video from St. Charles Street that you seized?
All the video that I received was from the same building, from one camera, and then I was provided another video from the downtown business group.
Okay, was that the Association for Greater Downtown St. Louis?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. I'm going to publish what was previously admitted as State's Exhibit 14A. Is 14A that first video that you were referencing that you seized from St. Charles Street?
Yes.
Okay. And did you determine this was the Audi parked up there on the side of the street?
Yes.
Okay. Going to publish what was previously admitted as State's 14B. Do you recognize this video?
Yes.
Is that another video that you seized from St. Charles Street?
Yes.
I realize I can't fast forward in PowerPoint, so I won't play that video for you right now. But what about the loft building right next to where this happened, 1100 Washington Avenue, the Vanguard lofts?
I was unable to retrieve video from that location.
So since you couldn't retrieve it, did you give up?
No.
What did you do?
I called a specialized unit in our Intel division and asked them to go try to download it.
Is that the TAG unit?
That's correct.
Is that the Technical Assistance Group?
Yes.
Okay. And in connection with your preparation of your report, did they supply you information about their efforts to seize video from those lofts?
Yes, they sent me 2 photos.
And what did those photos indicate?
It showed that they were unable to retrieve data from their security system.
Okay. I'm going to show you what was previously admitted as State's Exhibit 1. Is that the video you were sent by the Downtown Association?
Yes.
Okay. Were you able to locate any other data? Any other video?
No.
Okay. Has anyone come forward and since you completed your report and indicated other video exists?
No.
Okay. so once you recovered the video and the airbag control module data, what was the next? You reviewed all the body cam. What was the next thing you did?
So personally, I began preparing the report.
Okay. And did anyone assist you in preparing the reconstruction report?
Yes.
Who?
Tom Morris.
Okay, and why did Tom Morris assist you?
He was tasked with the verification, validating airbag control module data, and trying to determine vehicle speeds for the cars that were involved.
Is it standard practice for you to verify data before, if you only have data from one source, is it standard for you to verify that before preparing a report?
Yes.
Okay. Would you ever rely on data from one source to charge someone?
No.
Okay. At some point, could you tell us about the process of preparing your reconstruction report?
So I began preparing the narratives, and Tom Morris began preparing the math portion of this report after I reviewed body camera, surveillance video, and medical records.
There was a reference yesterday to a witness at the scene who had made a statement about observing the defendant stopping at the yield sign. Are you familiar with the statement I'm referring to?
Yes,
And did you include that in your report?
I did,
Okay. Why did you include that in the report?
because that was a witness statement.
Okay, but it didn't help your charging the defendant, right?
No,
So why did you include it?
because it's an independent witness that we had at the time, and that's what I do is add those statements in,
Okay.
regardless of what it is.
Okay. Did you obtain or seek to obtain information regarding the defendant's driving record?
Yes,
And how did you go about doing that?
completed a inquiry through Regis.
And following that, did you submit a request to the Department of Revenue?
Yes,
What did you request?
driving status for the driver.
Did you receive a response?
I did.
Was that response certified?
Yes,
Did you seize that response?
I believe so. Yes.
No objection.
State Exhibit 33, certified record from the Department of Revenue.
All right, 33 will be admitted and you may publish.
Officer Moran, what is State Exhibit 33?
It is a DOR response from the Department of Records, Missouri driver record.
Okay, it seems like it's only one page long, is that right?
Yes.
What did that response indicate?
It says driver status information, operator status is none, CDL status is none, school bus status is none.
What does that mean in layman's terms?
Doesn't have a driver's license in the state of Missouri.
So I guess before I get to your conclusions or your opinions about the sequence of events, Officer Moran, are you familiar with Missouri statutes regarding yield signs?
Yes.
And I'm not trying to insult anyone's intelligence, but what is the Missouri law regarding a driver's obligation at a yield sign?
Has to yield to moving traffic on the other thoroughfare.
Sir, and I'm going to admit this, but I'm just going to provide this Moran, could you review the highlighted portion of that statute?
Okay.
Does that statute comport with your understanding of Missouri law for yield signs?
Yes.
What is the law?
It says that the driver of a vehicle approaching a yield sign shall, obedience to the sign, slow down to a speed reasonable to existing conditions, and if required to safely stop, shall stop at a clearly marked stop line, but if none, then at the point nearest to the intersecting road where the driver has a view of approaching traffic on the intersecting roadway. After slowing or stopping, the driver shall yield the right-of-way way to any vehicle in the intersection or approaching on another highway so closely as to strew an immediate hazard during the time such traffic is moving across within the intersection.
Thank you. Officer Moran, did you, before you came to your opinion regarding the sequence of events in this collision, was there any other investigation that the jury should know?
I don't believe so.
Okay. You were provided, in the course of reviewing body cam, were you provided with statements from the defendant about his recollection of the incident?
Yes.
Okay. Did you consider those?
Yes.
Okay. Did you come to an opinion about the sequence of events involved in the collision?
Yes.
What was that opinion based on?
It was based on statements from drivers. It was based on witness testimony. It was based on roadway evidence. It was based on video surveillance. And based on the math calculations that Tom Morris did.
Okay. And is it common practice in your field to sometimes rely on a consultant like Tom Morris to provide calculations, as he did in this case?
Yes.
Okay. Using all of that information that you gathered, the video, the airbag control module, what is your opinion as to the sequence of events that occurred in this collision?
It's my belief that vehicle 2, the Audi, was parked at the curb on St. Charles on the south side of the road. Vehicle 2 traveled westbound down St. Charles, violated the yield sign, entered the intersection of St. Charles and 11th at approximately 45 miles an hour, and was struck in the left rear side of the vehicle by vehicle 1, which was traveling northbound on 11th Street, which caused the Audi to rotate counterclockwise, striking Janae Edmondson, who was standing next to a parked vehicle, and then causing the collision with the parked vehicle and the Audi caused the Audi to roll over on its roof and continue to slide westbound on St. Charles.
Your Honor, I don't have any other questions at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Deamer?
Your Honor, at this point, do you take a biological break?
Yes, we're going to take a biological break. So, the court again reminds the jury what you're told the first recess of permit anybody discussing here.
Not form express any opinion about it. Please do not do any research investigation. Don't read anything or listen to anything about this case, and don't do any independent research. A short biological break.
Court is temporary recess.
So we kind of finished just a moment ago with your opinion, correct?
Yes,
And there were several different factors that you had taken into consideration in rendering that opinion, correct?
yes,
All right, one of those things was that Daniel was an unlicensed driver and should not have been operating a motor vehicle, correct?
correct.
And did you also take into consideration, well, let me ask you this first. Did you go out and get a copy of a letter from the Department of Revenue regarding the driving privileges of Elizabeth Smith? I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as C, which has been denied by Elizabeth Smith, but ask if you can identify what that is.
Looks like a Department of Revenue notice of lost driver's privilege.
And you actually obtained that, is that correct?
Believe so.
Your actual initials were on the bottom of it.
Yes,
Okay. So you knew at the time that you were coming to your opinion regarding how this all happened, that Elizabeth Smith didn't have a driving privilege.
correct.
Okay. And is that written in any part of your conclusion?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Also, you obtained some of the medical records in this case. Is that true as well?
Yes,
I'm going to show you what's been marked as D. You did get medical records?
yes,
I'll show you a medical record for Elizabeth Smith, marked D. And I'm going to refer you to the bottom left column where it talks about her vision.
okay.
And what does it say?
Decreased vision,
Okay. So I know vision was an important thing in this accident as well, correct?
in regards to,
Your opinion.
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well, let me ask it this way first. Did you take into consideration Elizabeth Smith's possible decreased vision?
No,
Okay. But you did take into consideration that this intersection is additionally hazardous by the limited sight distance to any traffic westbound on St. Charles.
yes,
So not only is vision important for the driver's sake, but it's also important for that intersection.
yes,
Okay. So we've got an additional driver who's given a statement who has bad vision and it's a bad intersection, right?
is it,
It's not a valid question, so ask questions.
Sure. You were there that night, correct?
yes,
All right. There was actually a car parked on 11th Street, right up at the corner. A Mercedes, silver, blacktop.
I don't recall.
Did you take that into consideration as possibly blocking the view in addition?
No,
When you talked about the witness statements that had been retrieved, there were a couple of different people that had spoken with Elizabeth Smith, right?
yes,
And to your knowledge, Elizabeth was interviewed by Officer Chapo.
I don't recall.
You've got the copy of the report in front of you, don't you?
I do.
It's actually page 110 in your report.
Okay,
Okay? And you took into consideration things that Chapo had told you, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you how you got that information from Chapo.
Through an email statement, most likely.
Well, not most likely. How do you know?
He would have provided me a statement, either handwritten or by email.
And what happened to that handwritten and or email?
It would be in the case folder.
I'm sorry, what?
It'd be in the folder.
So there's a folder with this information in it?
Yes.
Judge, can we approach? So you maintain, I'm sorry, Renee.
I'm ready. Thank you.
So you maintain a case file in your office on this case.
That's correct.
Have you provided that to the circuit attorney's office?
I provided the entire report, not the memos, no.
So there are things in there that are supposed to all be in here.
Yes.
So what this should read is Officer Chapo sent me a memo about his interview with Elizabeth Smith.
It's in there the way it's written.
It says that he interviewed Miss Elizabeth Smith, right?
Correct.
Did it say that you got the information from this interview from a memo provided to you by Officer Chapo?
No.
Does Officer Chapo's memo that's in your file, that we don't have in front of us, indicate that he obtained a speed that Ms. Smith said that she was driving?
No.
Does it indicate in Officer Chapo's statement about what Ms. Smith said that she was wearing her safety belt?
No.
That she wasn't, or that she was?
Just the relevance, the safety belt.
Well, it also goes to show some of the issues that are related to the electronics later.
I'll allow it.
And no.
Did she make a statement to Officer Moore that she was wearing a safety belt?
No.
So she was not wearing a seatbelt at the time?
Calls for speculation here.
You can answer if you don't.
She doesn't state that she was or was not.
I'm going to refer you to, she rented, it's about midway down, where it says she was wearing her seatbelt.
Yes, you're correct.
All right. Now, when you identified the information out of her crash data recorder, what did it indicate to you about the use of a safety belt by the driver in the Malibu?
That can I refer back to the module data?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Do you have that in front of you?
I believe so.
States that it's
Not buckled.
So we've got a couple of different options. Either Ms. Smith wasn't necessarily telling the truth, right? Or there was a malfunction in that CDR. Those two things are in conflict. Would you agree?
Yes,
All right. So of those two options, one option would be Ms. Smith was not telling the truth about her using her seatbelt, right?
correct.
The other option is that the CDR was wrong.
I guess, correct.
Okay. Now, again, you did admit that it was Officer Moore that interviewed Ms. Gorman at the hospital, correct?
Correct.
All right. With regard to Moore, was he wearing a body-worn camera?
I don't believe so.
And neither was Chapo, right?
I don't recall about Chapo.
Certainly, if he was wearing a body camera video when he interviewed these girls, you would have viewed it, right?
Correct.
Okay. So let's just move on to Moore for just a second. He interviewed them. He did not have a body camera on, right?
Correct.
And how did you receive the information from him, since it's not noted in here that it was a body camera?
It would have been through an email, memo.
And again, that's an email, a memo that would have been in the file, right?
Correct.
All right. And in that memo that you would have received from Moore, it would have been indicated whether or not she, Ms. Gorman, said how fast they were going, correct?
If she had stated that, yes.
Okay. So since it's not in here, it wasn't in the memo, which means she's unlikely to have said it.
That's correct.
Certainly, that's an important piece of information for you guys to have, right?
Correct.
withdraw the objection.
It's important so that you can actually compare the physical evidence left at the scene along with witness statements, which are what you kind of sort of did in this overall opinion, right?
Correct.
And so you don't have two crucial pieces of information.
Object to the format of the question, sir.
Mr. Field, you gotta say objections loud.
I'm sorry, I object to the format of the question.
Rephrase.
You don't have a crucial piece of information regarding a witness statement as to the speed of the Malibu.
Object, the question is vague, Your Honor.
Rephrase it, Mr. Field.
You consider speed being given by a witness statement as something that's important, correct?
Yes.
And you use that information to help corroborate the physical stuff that's left at the scene.
Correct.
So you don't have that component of a witness statement about a speed to compare with the CDR.
I apologize, I'm confused on if you're saying that it should be in, she stated that, or if that's a question like, should it be in there in regards to have been asked?
Well, I guess it goes multiple different ways. My question is, since you take into consideration witness statements, right?
To an extent, yes.
And the reason you do that is to help compare that to physical evidence, right?
Correct.
And you also then want to verify, hey, if somebody says that there's extraordinary speed, you want to have maybe some witness statements that go along with it, right?
Not necessarily.
Okay. But you're using video to help verify it, right?
Yes.
Again, I believe you stated that in your direct that that's one of the components, witness statements, right?
Yes.
Physical evidence.
Yes.
Okay. And in all of the information that you received from any of these things, there was no information as to speed that may have been given to you that would have helped you in evaluating the correctness of the Malibu information.
I object just as soon as facts,
What's the objections?
as soon as facts, not evidence.
I think you need to rephrase that.
Okay. It would be nice to have that statement to juxtapose the evidence from the CDR.
I object to, he's misstating the testimony. He said there is no statement from Smith about speed.
Wasn't my question.
All right. You both are correct. So, witness can answer the question.
I apologize. Can you?
Sure. It would have been nice to have a witness statement as to the speed of the Malibu so that you could evaluate it against the physical evidence.
A witness statement would be nice.
Okay. The other thing that would have been nice from the Malibu would have been the download from the OnStar, correct?
Not necessarily.
Well, did you guys even attempt to get the information from OnStar on the Malibu?
Judge, I object. This goes to the motion to eliminate on the adverse inference argument that we addressed.
Sidebar.
Thank you.
There was information from Mr. Riley that he had been, quote, T-boned, in that you obtained from body-worn camera, correct?
Yes.
And would you say that that information was consistent with the physical evidence that remained at the scene?
Yes.
There was a tremendous amount of damage that was done to the front end of that Malibu, right?
Overall, you can answer.
There was damage to the front end.
And there was damage to the driver's side of Mr. Riley's vehicle.
Correct.
So those things would be consistent with what he said.
Yes.
When it came to you writing this report, it actually comes in pieces, correct? The report? You do an original report, correct?
Yes.
And then you do a supplement if there's additional information.
Yes.
If there's further information, you do another supplement.
Yes.
More, keeps getting more supplements, right?
Yes.
In your original report that was written back on February the 18th, 2023, you had the information about Christopher Eckridge, correct?
Yes.
And he appeared in the original report. Page 12.
So unfortunately, mine not be numbered the same way as yours. I apologize. I don't see it scrolling through these papers. Are you looking at the
Original
incident or crash?
incident report. It's also in the accident report, but yes, it's in the,
Okay.
right?
Do you have a quick reference one I can just glance at real quick? Find it while we're...
Page 12. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, I'll give you this. This is a complete copy of the report. If that'll help. You see that there's a witness identified as Christopher Eckridge.
Correct.
Okay. Now, not only did you get the descriptive information from him personally, but it was also contained in body-worn camera footage that you viewed later, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Now, with regard to the guy Trent Wissington, you got that in a memo from Bridget Fournay, right?
I believe so.
Okay. And he actually appears in supplement number 4, correct?
Don't recall.
supplement number 4 is going to be way back.
Okay,
All right.
I have supplement for you.
And on page 100, and it looks like 11.
Okay, got it.
All right. Again, you're saying that this information arrived to you from Bridget Fournay about Trent Wissington, correct?
Correct.
And in that email, did she give you his address, telephone number, and stuff like that?
I don't recall.
Because is there anything in supplement number 4, like we have in the incident report, where there's a witness, his address, date of birth, and all that good information?
Ask the question again?
Sure. If you go through your report from the very beginning, it's kind of a standard report, right? You punch in things in the blocks where it's provided, right?
Correct.
Okay. So where it comes up witnesses, you can put in a witness address, right? You put in a name, address, yada.
Correct.
Okay. With regard to supplement number 4, having identified Trent Wissington, did you include that in a similar type of manner, his name, his address, his phone number, or anything like that?
I don't know if he... I don't recall.
Okay. Is that because you really didn't think he was very important in this thing?
No.
All right. Let's go back to the beginning. Your original report. When it comes to the assault in the 4th degree with regard to these young ladies, there is a box where it says type of weapon used, page 3.
All right, so our pages are different, so give me a second. Type of weapon used, okay?
And this is on the assault 4th degree, right?
Yes.
It says other.
Correct.
What was the other weapon?
I don't recall if it'll let you do automobile and get without giving you an error. I don't recall.
Oh, so it's a computer's fault.
It can be stubborn sometimes, yes.
Okay. Was the computer being stubborn when you wrote out your initial impression of what happened in this incident report or initial report?
Let's say it's right.
Sure. Would you agree with me, first of all, that the incident report is the original report?
The initial, the incident report is the initial report?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, just wondering if the computer didn't allow you to put in 2 different vehicles in your narrative of how things happened. You go to page 21.
Are we talking about incident, the vehicle screens?
Sorry?
We talking about vehicle screens or narrative?
Narrative.
Okay,
Are you looking at the narrative?
I am.
All right. Was the computer being stubborn when you made this narrative?
They're vague and confusing. I don't know what the question is.
Rephrase it.
Sure.
I know what you're trying to do, but you have to rephrase it.
Sure. You write in there, on the on-scene investigation, a witness statement, vehicle 2 was traveling northbound on 11th Street, right? You wrote that?
Yes.
When vehicle 2, which was traveling westbound on St. Charles, violated the yield sign. So we got vehicle 2 on 11th and hitting itself on St. Charles. Would you agree with me about that?
That's right.
All right. Is that because the computer didn't let you put it in the right way?
No,
Okay.
that was an error on my part.
An error on your part.
Yes.
Okay. You've got the accident report as well, correct?
I do.
All right. And in the accident report, you also write the same description.
Yes, I do.
So you had the opportunity to look at it at some point, right?
Yes.
And if you find a mistake in your report, what do you do?
You can correct it.
How do you do it?
You can do a supplement.
Did you do a supplement regarding this description?
No.
Did you ever write a new accident report?
No.
Now, at some point in there, you did misidentify the Ultima, which was the car ahead of the Toyota, right?
Correct.
And you actually corrected that.
Yes,
The year was wrong.
it was.
And that was a significant problem with the way you described the accident.
I don't believe so. It was part
Oh, well, would you agree with me then that vehicle 1 not being involved in vehicle 2 and vehicle 2 coming together is kind of a major thing?
It was a typo.
The computer didn't let you put it in. Right?
I'm sorry, was that a question?
Yeah.
It's the standard argumentative statement. Ask the question, Mr. Deamer.
Let's go to page 44.
What are we looking at?
I'm looking at an incident report.
Okay.
All right, page 44. It says assault second degree, type of weapon used, motor vehicle, right?
Yes.
Move down to armed criminal action. Type of weapon used, you would put in
None.
Was that because it wouldn't let you put that in? Like it wouldn't on the misdemeanor charge?
I don't know.
Okay. You also got Ms. Smith's, not just this letter from the Department of Revenue, but you also got her driving record from the Department of Revenue?
Yes.
You seized that and put it in evidence?
I believe so.
And again, that simply kind of sort of duplicates what we already know. She wasn't supposed to drive, and she was driving while suspended, right?
Correct.
So naturally, what you did was you wrote her a ticket right after you kind of sort of completed your investigation.
Yes.
In July?
Yes.
Well, February, March, April, May, June. You wrote the ticket in July. Right?
I believe so.
You knew she was suspended already based upon what everybody said.
Correct.
It took you 5 months to figure out how to write out the ticket?
Well, was that a question?
Yeah, my question is, did it take you 5 months to fill out the ticket that you sent her?
There are reasons we don't give tickets right away.
Oh, what was the reason?
We like to make sure we have all the evidence that we have, so if charges are necessary.
Well, you had the information back when you got it from the Department of Revenue.
Correct?
Misleading. The letter from the Department of Revenue is dated in July.
July of 22. Right? The letter from the Department of Revenue was from July of 22. Not July of 23. That's from July of 22. Right?
That's correct.
All right. And you had her department, you got hers the same time you got Daniel's, right?
Around the same time, I
All
believe.
right. So you knew for several months before you wrote the ticket, right? Is that correct?
I don't recall exactly what date I got those driver records back.
You took a written statement, which is, you have talked about, Exhibit 15. You took a written statement from Christopher Eckridge, right?
Yes.
Do you recall how long you guys were out there?
I don't recall.
Do you think maybe it was around 15 minutes and he had written something and shown it to you? He started to walk away, came back, and you guys had some more conversations. Sound familiar?
I know we talked for a short period of time and I left and came back, yes.
And then he started to walk away and came back one more time.
I don't recall.
What did you guys talk about?
Probably where he was standing.
And did you try and figure out whether or not there was a clear view from where he was standing? Did you look at the scene photographs? Did you look at all the scene photographs?
I did.
Did you notice that there was a black car parked right in front of the yield sign?
Yes.
And did you notice that that car, I'm going to refer to this is State Exhibit 4. Did you notice that black car was parked against this yellow curb, right?
Okay.
And there's a sign there, and Christopher Eckridge is supposed to be standing back here, back by this yellow pole, right?
In that area, yes.
And there's a car right here illegally parked right in front of the yield sign. Right? Sure. I'm just asking if you remember that from the scene photos.
I do know there was a car parked at the yield sign.
And not only was there a car parked illegally at the yield sign, but that Toyota was also illegally parked. Another yellow curb. Right there.
There is a yellow curb in that photo, yes.
Okay. Well, was there a yellow curb there that night?
I don't recall.
I think Officer Chapo already pointed it out, but you're saying that you don't remember if it was there.
No, I don't.
Okay. Now, when you were obtaining this witness statement from Mr. Eckridge, you actually had an oral statement from him as well, correct?
We talked briefly, yes.
Because you actually put that into this narrative on page 113.
Yes.
And in his statement to you, he said he observed an unknown black vehicle traveling westbound on St. Charles. Right?
Correct.
And did he also tell you that a, quote, white Chevrolet Impala struck the driver's side of the black vehicle, causing the black vehicle to strike a pedestrian?
Yes.
He told you that night.
That's what he told me, yes.
Was that before or after he wrote the witness statement?
Would have been after, I believe.
So, had you had an opportunity to look at his witness statement and read it?
I don't recall.
Let the record reflect, he's looking at the witness statement written by Christopher Eckridge at 12:24 on the 19th of February 2023. You read it,
Yes.
and in that statement, that's different than the oral statement, he writes that the Audi hit the front right tire engine area. Correct?
Yes.
Well, just like vehicle 2 hitting itself, one of these two things isn't correct, right?
Those were the statements he provided me.
So he also told you then that the car T-boned, the Malibu T-boned the Audi, right?
Yes.
Did he tell you it was doing 70 miles an hour?
I don't believe he gave a speed.
Did you see speeds from any of the body-worn camera later?
In regards to,
In regards to how fast he thought the Audi was going?
I don't recall.
Do you know who towed the Malibu?
St. Louis City tow.
All right. Did you check with that tow driver about what he did with that car?
In regards to,
Well, we know that he, according to your evaluation of the CDR and stuff, that vehicle was tried to be started 15 times or so. And maybe it was started, but it was the ignition key was turned 15 different times after the accident, right?
correct.
So did you talk with the tow driver to try and find out if he drove the car?
At the scene, he did not drive the car.
So you were there when they put the car on the truck?
One of the investigators was.
Well, did you see him put the car on there?
No.
Okay. How did you guys roll over the Audi?
That would have been completed by a city tow.
So, in order to make sure that you have things properly documented, it would have been a really good idea to not only have those scene photos that we have, right? Right?
Correct.
Nice to see photos of them rolling over the car so you can distinguish between what was done to the car and trying to move the car as opposed to what happened to the car in the accident.
Those photos of the Audi were taken while it was upside down prior to it being rolled over.
Exactly. But later when you looked at the car, you and Morris, you do some crash analysis based upon what you're finding in front of you, right?
In regards to damage,
Yeah, I mean, you have to do a crush data analysis, right?
You would be better off talking to Tom to determine what he used for his analysis.
Okay. Well, if his analysis is going to be correct, you got to kind of sort of document what was done from the accident versus what kind of damage might have been done when it was rolled over.
Photos of the vehicle were taken while it was upside down.
So, right after it was rolled over, wouldn't it have been a good idea to find out what damage was done so that when Morris looks at it when it's right side up, you can say, oh, that wasn't there when it was upside down.
Judge, the question assumes damage. There's no evidence that there was
Overruled, he can answer.
Sometimes that would be nice, but it would not always occur, unfortunately.
You know, when the tag unit went out there and pulled out that video that they couldn't do anything with, right? What did they do? Did they document that with a photo?
Yes,
That's in your report, right?
correct.
All right, show me the picture of you removing the CDR from the Audi.
There is no picture.
Oh, then there must be one for the Malibu.
Judge, this goes to the motion to eliminate. Yeah.
And it does go against the motion to eliminate. Talk about what we have.
There was no documentation about that removal, correct? We have your word about what happened at that point
Yes,
and how carefully it was done. Right?
yes.
Now, you actually made a statement in here that once the Bosch software is available for the 23 Audi, you're going to re-download that vehicle's data for verification. Do you know when that software came out?
I don't recall when it came out.
But you didn't do it till the first, I guess the second time. When?
I believe in November,
November?
October or November, I believe.
And then you did it again in February.
That's correct.
All right. Now, when we're talking about that, you said that you kind of sort of decided it was event 3 that was the first thing that you needed to consider.
State that again?
Sure. You're saying to this jury that the event recorded first was not the first event.
Event 1 was not the first event, correct.
And that was a decision that you made based upon your experience?
Objectors misstates facts, evidence. It's
You're asking a question, you can ask the question.
No, the data indicates that.
The data indicated that the first incident was not the first incident?
Technically, yes.
Well, event 2 and 3 are mirror images of one another, right?
No.
How many computers are in these cars?
All depends.
Is there a sensor in the Audi where it was originally hit by the Malibu?
I don't know.
Well, that would have been the first event if there was a sensor there, but you don't know where that sensor was?
I'm confused on what kind of sensor we're discussing here.
Well, the sensor that you used to help generate your opinion. Where was that sensor on the car?
My opinion states that the airbag control module data shows the first event is event 3.
So that was when the airbag was deployed, right?
That's when it was, the data said it needed to deploy, yes.
Okay. So there was an event previous to that, correct?
Prior to event 1?
Yes.
Yes.
Because you're saying that it was event 1 was the deployment of the airbag.
I apologize. I believe we're getting off, kind of separated on these events. Can you?
No, I'm asking for you to explain why you did it the way you did it. There was an event that happened, and you said, it's not the first one. We're going to start with this one.
Sure.
That was your decision, right?
No, that's the data limitations indicating that.
Oh, so there's some data limitations, but you decided to kind of sort of interpret it that even though this data is limited, I'm going to decide that 3 is ahead of 1.
Judge, I think this isn't working out.
I'm on, you can fix it during,
Yes, sir.
If we review the data limitation pages on your Audi vehicle 2, it indicates that there can be 6 recorded events, with time 0 being 0.0. If we look at event 3, we can see that time initiated is 0.0. Event 2 has got more time than that, and event 3 is 1345 milliseconds, indicating that event 3 is the first initial event, and it can record up to 6 events.
But actually, the first event wasn't any of those sensors. The first event was the Audi when it was hit by the Malibu, and no sensor went off then.
Object assumes facts not evidence.
I don't recall if it was listed as a deployment event or a non-deployment event.
It couldn't have been a deployment event because there's no side curtains down in the Audi, right?
Judge, this assumes facts not in evidence.
sustained.
Did you look at pictures of the Audi?
Yes.
Okay. Were the airbags deployed, the side airbags deployed?
I don't recall.
Yeah, picture of the Audi looks like Well, while she's looking for that picture, you get a drink and I'll ask you another question.
Sure, go ahead.
So, you got all this information. You've been up all night, right?
Unfortunately, yes.
You've been on shift, about to go home, called out on another dealio, so you head down to St. Charles and 11th, right?
Correct.
You're working on no sleep at this time, right?
Yes.
What time do you think you left the scene there?
I don't know.
Did you go home and get any shut-eye?
I believe I did.
And then you prepared a search warrant, right?
Correct.
And you got that to a judge, right?
Yes.
You removed them, right?
Correct.
And you didn't download them right there, right?
No.
So you take it back to your office, and I know you're tired. Did you kind of sort of figure, I'll leave it alone for a minute. You know, we've got other stuff we got to do. I've been up all night.
I don't recall if I downloaded it directly when I got back.
It wouldn't have been a great idea to do it as groggy as you might have been in, you know, where you got a computer that won't take information that you're trying to put it in. Right?
Judge, argument.
Sustained.
Okay. Can you put up 33? Oh, Adam, can you put up 33? Can you tell me if those are the side airbags?
They appear to be side airbags.
Okay. So what deployment event was that?
I don't know if I can be specific on which deployment those side airbags deployed.
I mean, it would seem logical that if you're getting T-boned, that the side airbag would have gone off first, right?
Yes.
So was that the first event that you used?
It's a side impact.
Right? Was that the deployment event that was first that you used?
Yes.
With regard to information involving Elizabeth Smith, there was well, I'll move on from that. You also tried to get information about the rental car companies and so forth, right?
Correct.
Okay. So there was a rental car company that was involved with the Malibu, right?
Yes.
Rental car company that was involved with the Audi,
Yes.
and there was a rental car company that was involved with the Toyota that was also hit.
Correct.
So there's nothing nefarious about somebody driving a rental car, right?
No.
I mean, it would seem logical, especially with a 23 Audi, you kind of sort of want to take care of it, right?
I'm sorry, what's your question?
Sure. Seems logical that somebody driving a 23 Audi Q5 might want to not get in an accident.
I don't even know how to respond to that one.
Sure, you don't prescribe to the theory it's just a rental?
No.
Okay. Let's talk about these videos that you use to try and verify speed. You want to put up 14? And go ahead and play it through all the way. I think it's Exhibit 14. Your Exhibit 14 is the street, the alley camera. What? Yeah, I know. Well, let me just ask you this question while they're looking for it. You examined this video to use to help draw some of your conclusions, right?
Yes.
Did you notice anything unusual about the time and the camera?
Talking about being motion sensor?
Not just motion sensor, but that there's like a 15-second freeze at one point. You noticed that, right?
Yes.
So with the freeze ups at 247, 349, 510, 536, 612, 648, 712, 735, 1035, 1119, 1143, 1223, all on that video. How did you kind of sort of account for that in using it as a helpful piece of information?
I'm just showing where the vehicle left the curb in my
Well, the report says that you guys were using the video to help establish the speed.
Say it again.
You would have to just,
The report, you wouldn't let me put the report in evidence. It's not in evidence, and it's not in the report.
All right. So what's your question, Mr. Dean?
Question is, did you recognize the lips on the video?
we were aware that it was motion censored, yes.
And did you try and account for that in your calculations?
I didn't do the calculations.
Okay. Can you put up State's Exhibit 1, no sound? Did you use this video, State's Exhibit 1, which is the parking lot video? Helping you? And did you notice that a phantom car suddenly appeared at 56?
Yes, we did.
So, there's a lot of distance that we don't see that Malibu, right?
I used that video to show the sequence of events. I did not validate it using for speed analysis.
Oh, that's Morris's problem?
If Tommy used that video for speed analysis, you would have to discuss that with him.
Now, I know that that video, Exhibit 1, was given to you despite your exhaustive search for videos, right? There's video cameras all over the place down there, right?
Yes, there is.
So, did you see that video camera?
No, I didn't.
You guys were more concentrating on trying to figure out what the Audi was doing, right? Right?
No.
No? Well, the cameras that you looked for were this one right here at the corner, right?
That is one I found.
And then there was another one down here at the Vanguard Lofts.
I don't think they can see it.
Sorry? Then there was another one down here at the Vanguard Lofts, right?
They still can't see, sorry.
I did look there, yes.
Those are all on St. Charles Street, right?
Yes.
So the cameras that you weren't looking for on 11th Street, that one just happened to fall into your lap.
This goes to the motion on the-
Again, Mr. Deemer, that's within the motion to eliminate.
I'm saying that one fell into his lap, that's all I'm saying.
Well, that's what
Right.
you're not supposed to say, so let's move on.
That was given to you by somebody else, right?
Judge, he's just,
Mr. Deemer,
I'm
follow
just,
the rules, motion to eliminate, move on.
the scuff that we discussed and that you identified in the pictures, right?
Yes.
That was a scuff mark left by one tire, right?
Yes.
In other words, there were at least 3 wheels off the ground.
It's possible, yes.
Well, they weren't leaving marks on the pavement as it was going sideways, right?
You're right.
So the impact was so hard as to put that Audi on one wheel.
We don't know that for sure.
What do you mean you don't know for sure? There's only one scuff mark.
Yes, there is only one scuff mark.
Okay. So there are 3 tires that are not leaving marks on the pavement.
Correct.
So it's on one wheel.
Not necessarily.
So the other wheels just didn't happen to leave any skid marks?
You're moving the center of gravity for that vehicle to one side. So can we say that the left side of the vehicle's off the ground at the time? No. But the weight shift is different, yes.
Well, if the right front tire is making contact and moving sideways, and if the right rear tire is on the concrete moving sideways, it would stand that both of those wheels would be making scuff marks.
Not necessarily.
Oh, yeah, that picture that we were talking about with the black that car that's sitting at the curb where there was no parking, that's actually in page 129 of your report, right?
Are we talking about the narrative?
Yeah, narrative.
Are we talking about the picture?
Yeah, there's a picture. You've got, looks like a cameraman sitting there under a yield sign and a no parking sign with a black car.
Yes.
All right. And again, did you kind of try to evaluate that against what Mr. Eckridge said?
To what extent?
Whether or not he actually had a view of what he said he saw?
No.
Okay. When you kind of sort of saw the difference between his written statement and the oral statement about how things went down, did you try and figure out why there was a difference?
I don't recall.
When the Audi was making that scuff mark across the street, what type of control would the driver still have over directing where that vehicle could go?
I can't say for certain.
You think a car that's leaving a scuff mark like that, there's a driver that has the capacity to actually control that vehicle?
No, I don't. But I
Okay.
don't know what kind of control he has.
But with one wheel on the ground, there's no control.
Was that a question?
Sure.
Judge, this question assumes facts that the witness
Just saying, the witness already said
All right.
he disagreed with your theory.
Are you saying that there, since the CDR on the Malibu said that the brakes were applied, that there should have been marks on the pavement?
No.
Do we know if those were ABS brakes?
I don't know.
Even ABS brakes leave a mark because they lock, go, lock, go, lock, go. So you get kind of a dotted line, right?
You can.
Did you see that type of ABS brake pattern skid mark behind the Malibu?
No.
So a little while ago, and we kind of got off track because of the picture thing, you go back to your office with that CDR, right?
Yes.
All right. Both the Malibu and the Audi, right?
Yes.
All right. You've imaged it at the scene, you brought it back to download it, right?
No.
Okay.
question pending?
He's looking for an answer, and I was trying to find what time he actually started to analyze the data on the CDR.
So I can tell you. So it was downloaded at City Tow at 15:14 on February 19th.
Well, we know you signed a search warrant or had a search warrant signed at 11:30 a.m. that morning, right?
Yes.
And in order to get a search warrant, you have to swear that things are true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief, right?
Yes.
Can I see what you're showing?
These were marked F and G. Those look like the search warrants that you obtained.
Yes.
Statement under oath, right?
Yes.
I know that the Edmondsons would be horrified to hear what you said about their daughter. She's a fatality. Did she die?
No.
Did somebody tell you that she died?
No.
Okay, so you put fatality in there. You didn't do it once, you did it twice.
You're right.
Oops. Right? Did it not let you put in that you were severely injured?
This thing,
Okay. So you've got the data. Had you looked at it before you swore out the next statement?
I don't know what statement you're referring to.
The statement for the warrant.
Can you ask that question again?
Sure. When you get a charge issued against somebody, you have to swear out a warrant that these facts are true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief. Just like you did the search warrant.
We're not for impeachment. You're not confronting witness with the state.
He's not sure what I'm talking about, so I'm just trying to help him out.
so if he doesn't know what you're talking about,
I'll show it to
show
him.
him the document so he
Sure.
knows what you're talking about.
All right, I'm going to show you what's marked as H. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
All right, what's that?
That is a probable cause statement.
All right, and you devised that, you wrote it yourself, right?
No, I did not.
Who wrote it?
Circuit Attorney's Office.
You swore it off, right?
I did.
All right. In here, it says that the Malibu went airborne, right? Or did you not read it before you signed it? What does it say?
This one does show an error.
It shows what?
An error.
Well, it's an error that you swore to, right? Is that correct? You took an oath?
Yes.
Like the search warrant?
Yes.
You got errors all over your report about vehicles, two hitting itself at the same time.
Sustained, there's your argument, closing argument. Redirect?
Mr. Moran, I'm showing you its marked for identification as States Exhibit 39. Could you tell the jury what that is?
That is my narrative for the accident reconstruction investigation.
Okay. So there were a lot of terms used, initial report, recon, narrative. What are we talking about? What's an initial report?
Initial report is the front pages of a report that need to be completed within a certain amount of hours per se on any investigation.
And what's the recon narrative?
This one's more in depth, lengthy. This gives you an outline of our complete investigation and our findings, including what we observed from video, witness statements, and math calculations, if there are any.
That's the one that actually contains your opinions, right?
Yes.
Okay. And when, that indicates it was completed with the supplemental report 4, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and when was supplemental report 4 completed? You can refer to your file.
It looks like the supplement date is 4/13/2023.
So you didn't reach your opinions overnight, right?
Correct.
You wrote that, finished writing that report in April, right?
Yes.
That was after Tom Morris, you consulted with Tom Morris, who also supplied a collision analysis, right?
That's correct.
I want you to look through the exhibit that I handed you and tell me if that's a fair and accurate copy of the recon report that you wrote, excluding Tom Morris's report.
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, I would need to admit this report not for the truth of the matter asserted, but because it's the subject of virtually the entire cross-examination, and I think for completeness, the jury can evaluate the report for themselves.
Your Honor, police reports don't go to juries. We're objecting to it. The fact that I used it in cross-examination because it's a document that he prepared. to allow the jury to look at it and make their own evaluation of it is not proper because there's information in there that we didn't even touch on. So I'm objecting.
You're objecting to sustain, the police report does not go back. You can continue to talk to Officer Moran about it.
Officer Moran, how many pages is your recon narrative report?
About 149.
Well, I'm not talking about I think that's the whole report,
Oh.
but there's the other page number that's just your,
Oh, sorry, there's one on there. Sorry. Looks like 40. Hold on, there's Tom's in here too. No. $40.
I'm going to come back to that. So, you were referred to the probable cause statement you made in that search warrant application, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. At the time that you wrote the search warrant application, what was your understanding about Janae's condition?
That she was critical unstable.
Okay. She wasn't awake, right?
I don't believe so.
I mean, what was your belief as to whether she was awake?
I don't know in regards to her status. I was advised that she was critical unstable.
Why did you prepare the search warrant immediately?
So we could collect the evidence that was in those vehicles.
Because what would happen if you didn't prepare it immediately?
I don't know.
You might not have that data, right?
It's possible.
Now, you were asked about what the sensor was on the Audi that recorded the event, right?
That's correct.
I'm not totally sure what that meant, but that's the airbag control module right here, right?
Yes.
And we talked about a meeting in February of this year at the circuit attorney's office, right?
Yes.
Do you remember seeing
Object to that
Mr.
conversation, Your Honor. If he wants to ask him a question about what was known, that's fine, but he's now involved himself in a conversation, which is improper.
He's just rehashing something that you already asked him before. He can answer the question.
There's some things that we have to clear up. Do you remember seeing Mr. Beamer at that meeting?
Yes.
And had I told you the purpose of that meeting was because the defense wanted to download the data from the airbag control module? Was that your understanding of the purpose?
Yes.
Did you bring all of the cables with you to complete that?
Yes.
Okay. And how many cables was that?
Probably 100 or more cables. I carry a case. I had probably, depending on which cables we're discussing, a handful of them.
Okay. And then at that meeting, what do you remember the person who arrived with Mr. Beamer doing?
Jotting down what was on my evidence bags.
You say jotting, just could you be really clear for the jury what you're talking about?
Writing down what I had written down on the evidence bags.
What cable did he use to download the data from the airbag control module?
None.
Okay. So I asked you to re-download the data, right?
That's correct.
Okay. You were asked about statements from Elizabeth Smith, right?
Yes.
Okay. Does the fact that Elizabeth Smith said she was wearing a seatbelt and the airbag control module for the Malibu indicating that the seatbelt was not buckled, does that give you reason to suspect the airbag control module was faulty?
No.
Why not?
Because it is possible she wasn't wearing her seatbelt when the collision occurred.
And why did you put her statement in your report?
Because that's what she told us.
When the officers gave you their memos of interviews, did you edit information out of those?
No.
Okay. Was the fact that Elizabeth Smith wearing or not wearing her seatbelt relevant whatsoever to your opinion as to the speed of the Malibu or the Audi?
No.
Okay. But you just included it because you don't remove anything from a witness statement, right?
Correct.
Okay. You did make a request for the Department of Revenue for Elizabeth Smith's driving record, right?
Yes.
At the same time that you made the request for Daniel Riley's record, right?
Yes.
Okay. And Daniel Riley's record indicated he had never had a driver's license, right?
That's correct.
And Elizabeth Smith's record indicated what?
She was either suspended or revoked, I believe.
Okay. You're showing a picture from your report about a car parked at that yield sign. Is that right?
Yes.
And what's next to that car? I mean, in the picture, what's next to that car? It's a news camera, right?
That's correct.
You don't know if that car was there at the time of the collision, right?
I don't know.
Okay. The defendant gave statements about the collision, right?
Yes.
They were in your report, right?
Yes.
And he claimed that he stopped at a yield sign, right?
Yes.
He didn't say he didn't see a yield sign.
That's correct.
Okay. You were asked questions about the surveillance videos from St. Charles Street and the one that's on the Rooster building or the old Rooster restaurant looking across the parking lot. Do you know which videos I'm talking about?
Can you say that one more time?
Okay. There were 3 videos that we looked at. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And neither you nor Tom Morris used any of the videos to calculate the speed of either vehicle, right?
I know I did not.
Okay. Have you in the past calculated speed from surveillance video or estimated speed from surveillance video?
Yes.
What kind of video do you need in order to do that reliably?
Well, you have to actually do a lot of work to do photogrammetry to get the location of the camera. Then you have to make sure that there's different frames within that camera, and then actually go scan more data to use it for photogrammetry so we can determine where the vehicle is on the roadway.
And when you're talking about photogrammetry, you're talking about going out to recreate the 3D model with the sensor of that whole area depicted in the video. Is that right?
That's correct.
So that you can put that in a CAD application to actually determine the distance from known points of reference, right?
That's correct.
Are you aware of any indication in your report that anyone did that?
No, we did not.
Okay. there was, you did refer to the video from St. Charles Street in your report though, right?
I did.
Okay, and specifically, you noted a point in that video where the Audi is turning off the curb, right?
That's correct.
That was significant because it corroborated steering input data from the airbag control module.
Yes.
The other video of the collision that we saw, Mr. Deemer pointed out that the white Malibu appears suddenly. Do you know which video I'm talking about?
Yes.
Is that also consistent with a motion-activated camera?
Yes.
Okay. You talked about using that to refer to the sequence of events. What did you mean by that?
We wanted to be able to determine what the vehicles were doing leading up to the collision and what happened after the collision. And that video was available.
Okay. You and I have no further questions. Thank you.
Well, just a couple. Sometimes what you worry about in these situations is people losing track of where things are, right? Evidence, there's a chain of custody.
Objection just made. Not allowed. What do you have in your hand, Mr. Dean?
I've got two exhibits. They've been marked by the state as Exhibit 167 and 168. Right? You have evidence tape that seal these things?
Yes.
Okay. So sometimes what you need to do is sometimes verify that there's been a chain of custody that's been completed, right?
I'm not sure exactly what you're asking.
Whose DSN was put on that envelope on February the 20th?
Your Honor, I object because the defense stipulated to the admission of these exhibits, and now it's asking about
He's asking about what we did with them and what's one of the things we did. Simple question.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm ready, thank you.
Yeah. Whose DSN is from 2/20 of 23?
It would be Sergeant Bustos.
Okay. So at some point, you gave these to Sergeant Bustos.
Object to relevant clarification.
Just asking, if that's his DSN, Judge, that's all that was done. Now, there's been some implication made that that car wouldn't have been there. You watched all these body camera videos, right?
I did.
Okay. Let me show you one from Stein.
Can you tell us what he's looking at?
Yeah, it's 5 minutes into Stein's body camera. So I'm going to hit play for you and see if you can see that flash. You able to see it?
Yes.
All right. So, it's not like that car drove in afterwards, right?
But Jeff, the calls for
He can answer if he knows.
I don't know.
No further.
Anything else for this witness? All right, Officer Moran, you're free to go.
Thank you.